Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Cowboys Beat Live for Friday, December 15th, 2023. I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday night. I hope you guys are going to have a great weekend this weekend. I will be working tomorrow because we are very busy at work. The place I work gets very busy during the holiday season. I deliver packages for UPS. I'm not afraid to say that. I'll be the first one to say that. So, all right. If you guys followed my live streams last week, you would see that, the camera that I was using was a little bit more high quality than the one that I'm using right now. The problem is when I was watching the video back, I saw that, the audio from my Canon 90D was, it was like all out of whack. So I was like, I gotta try and go get another webcam here so that I can, broadcast to you guys more efficiently. So yeah, definitely. And I want to thank you guys for coming out there tonight. Let me put on some background music because it's going to get very boring in here if it's just me talking. So there we go. Play it down just a little more. Okay, cool. So the Dallas Cowboys have the Buffalo Bills on Sunday afternoon, 4:25 at Orchard Park, New York. It's going to be a tough matchup. And I think it's going to be a tough matchup due to the fact that, one, you're going to be playing in some inclement weather, right? Orchard, I think in Buffalo, we're looking at about 50 degrees on Sunday, about 18 to 20 mile per hour wind with like a 90% chance of precipitation. So it's not going to be snow. And ultimately, that is a good thing for the Cowboys on Sunday. I do think that the Cowboys have a team that can travel and play in certain conditions. If you ask me, in my personal opinion, I feel like they have that. So I feel very confident going into this game. Look, I think that the Cowboys are a better team than the Buffalo Bills. You see it on tape. You see it with their record. I think overall, this is a better team. When I compare the positions, I'm looking at, when you compare the quarterbacks, at least for this season, they're right there with each other. They're right there with each other in terms of how they're playing this season. Now, if you want to say overall, who would you rather have when you compare the skill sets and whatnot, I understand that. That's a legitimate question that you can have. But ultimately, if you're asking me for this season, who's playing better, I got to go with Dak Prescott. And the reason why is because I think Josh Allen right now is at 26 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. Dak Prescott is at 28 touchdowns, passing touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. He hasn't thrown an interception since week 10. You know, he's been incredibly efficient this season, and he's taking good care of the football right now, no doubt about it. So when you look at the quarterbacks, usually in any other year, I would say, yeah, the Bills definitely have, the quarterback advantage over the Cowboys. But for this season, I mean, I think they're neck and neck. If not, Dak Prescott is probably playing a little better than Josh Allen at the moment. So it's interesting from that perspective, But like when you look, it's so funny to me because every other week we talk about line of scrimmage, which team's better at the line of scrimmage. The Cowboys are better on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And here's the thing. I don't compare, like when I'm comparing the line of scrimmages, I'm not comparing the Cowboys offensive line to the Bills defensive line or to the Bills offensive line. I'm comparing the Cowboys offensive line to the Bills defensive line, because at the end of the day, the Bills offensive line is not going to be playing against the Cowboys offensive line. That's not who they're going to be matched up against. Right. So I like to compare, how does the Cowboys offensive line match up to the Bills defensive line? Now, I think that the Bills defensive line is honestly the strength of their football team. And maybe not their football team, but is the strength of their defense, no doubt about it. I think that they have some serious problems in their secondary at linebacker and, corner, safety, whatever it may be. I think that they have some real problems back there. And especially without Micah Hyde playing for the Bills on Sunday, that's going to be big for them. Micah Hyde is a really good football player, and the fact that he's not going to be playing for the Bills on Sunday is going to make life much easier for the Cowboys. Look, you never wish for anybody to be injured. You never, ever should you do that. But at the same time, you have to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. When Trayvon Diggs tore his ACL, nobody felt bad for you. This is the NFL. You got to deal with injuries. It is what it is. It sucks. I hate it. That's just a game of football. So the Bills are dealing with some injuries, no doubt about it. And the Cowboys have to take advantage of that. Let's get into the Bills offense here real quick. Josh Allen will put the ball in harm's way. In that Chiefs game, he had an interception, probably should have had 2. He probably should have had 2 interceptions that game. But, hey, look, credit to him. He didn't have 2 interceptions. He only had the 1 interception, and, they ended up winning the game, and that's good for the Bills. They're a good football team, no doubt about it. They're a good offense too. I think that honestly, their offense is the strength of their football team. But like when it comes to Josh Allen, you got to wrap up with this guy. You got to make sure that this guy's on the ground, because if you don't, he's going to extend plays. He's going to physically beat you up if you're on the opposite side of him. I mean, that's just what this guy does. He is a special talent when it comes to that. You got to wrap this guy up. You got to bring him to the ground. You have to, you got to bring him down. No doubt about it, because this guy is one of the league's best improvisers. Like, he's a tremendous improviser. That's what he's pretty much known for, extending plays and getting the ball down the field. which is why you have to be disciplined on all three levels of the field when you play a quarterback like Josh Allen. You have to be disciplined as a defensive line. You have to stay in your gaps. You can't over pursue. You can't let him, get those easy escapes from the pocket. Second, third level at linebacker and safety, you got to be on your toes at all times with this guy. Same thing with the corners. The play is not over for Josh Allen until it's over. Josh Allen is a great quarterback. You're playing a great quarterback this weekend. But, lucky for the Cowboys, they have a great quarterback as well. So it's not just one team going into this matchup with that advantage. It's both of these teams are going in with that advantage. So, there's that. Stephon Diggs is obviously the guy who gets the most targets for them. You're going to see him featured a lot. I feel very good about Stephon Gilmore matching up with Stephon Diggs. Stephon on Stephon crime. What a funny joke by me. No, here's the thing, right? I was thinking about this. I said, when was the last time that the Cowboys had a corner where I just said, man, look, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who we play against. He's going to lock him up. It's been a while since I thought like that. And I feel like that right now when it comes to Stephon Gilmore. It's what Stephon Gilmore has done this season for the Cowboys for what, a 5th round pick? Man, that's impressive. Bills also use their running backs a lot. So here's the thing with James, because James Cook is a guy that they actually use a lot. To me, I'm a big fan of James Cook's game. A guy that likes to run on the outside. They'll use him as a receiver as well. They'll line him up in the slot. He's a very effective weapon for the Bills. I would say that outside of Allen and Diggs, he might be the third best player on that offense. And I mean that. That's how good I think James Cook is. He's not just a running back. He is kind of like Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara in that way, to where he could do multiple things for your offense other than just run the football. But he's not necessarily a guy who's going to be, a powerful runner and run through the interior gaps and put a beating on your linebackers. That's just not really the running back that James Cook is. He does a lot of things very well, but that's not necessarily his game. Let me find what else I got in my notes here. My notebook closed for some reason. I don't know why that was. Yeah, they're not a team that's really gonna attack you on the inside. At least that's not what I saw when I watched the tape. Their powerful big running back is Latavius Murray. You guys probably know him. He's been going around the NFL for quite some time now. He's just an okay player. He's an okay player. He's an okay, powerful running back. That's what he is at this point of his career. But he's on the team, and they do use him in their offense. Well, I already talked about James Cook. They have an okay offensive line. To me, I look at the interior of their offensive line and I say, you can get him. You can get him there. Osiris Torrance, Mitch Morse, and Connor McGovern are the 3 interior offensive linemen. We obviously know Connor McGovern from his time in Dallas. Okay player. That's pretty much all that is there. I would say he's probably the best out of their 3 interior players. Osiris Torrance is not good at all. That's not a high bar that I'm raising either when I say that. Osiris Torrance is not a very good football player. So that's where I'll leave that. So overall, offensively, I do like this test for the Cowboys because ultimately, where the Bills with this new scheme and Joe Brady, they like to do a lot of the stuff that San Francisco does, right? Using motions, rub routes, pick routes, mesh concepts, all this stuff that confuses a defense and plays with their eyes. That's what Joe Brady has incorporated into this Buffalo Bills offense. And that's why I love this test for the Cowboys. I really do, because I think it's going to prepare you for what you're going to see down the line. And granted, you might not have the talent at the skill positions that the Bills have when you're talking about, comparing them to the 49ers. It's night and day, the skill players on the Bills and the 49ers. I mean, that's also what happens when you pay your quarterback big money like Josh Allen's getting paid. You can't afford to have George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk around you. Not when you're getting paid that type of money. So, I mean, yeah, it's a good offense. Definitely, no doubt about it. I think that this is the strength of their football team when it comes to which unit is the best. Is it offense or is it defense? Their offense is pretty solid here. Their offense is pretty solid. When you go to the defensive side of the ball, middle of the field is going to be wide open in this game. And that's something that you love to hear as a Cowboys fan due to Dak's ability to exploit the middle of the field. I mean, it's pretty much now like he's becoming infamous for, or that's not the right word. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like tired as hell as well. I'm not going to lie to you guys. He's becoming famous for that word, or for that throw, that middle of the field seam route type of throw. So I think that Dak's going to be able to exploit that. They don't necessarily do a great job covering tight ends. They like to play a lot in that cover 2 shell, which means all those underneath routes are going to be there. Dak's going to get out of, come out of center, hit that back foot, get the ball out. That's going to be crucial in this game. And I think Dak's going to have a lot of success throwing the football. Not to mention how they say we don't win on the road. This will be a huge win for sure. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Look, you got to get some confidence when it comes to leaving AT&T Stadium. You can win an AT&T Stadium. My question is, are you going to get a playoff game in AT&T Stadium? And as of right now, it's looking like, I mean, if the season ended right now, they're getting a home game because they'd be the number 2 seed. But with the schedule that Philly has coming down the line, which, by the way, we'll talk about that later. We're getting a little off track, but let's get back to the Bills. You can run the football on them. You can. I think they're bottom 5 in the league in yards per carry allowed and bottom 10 in the league in rush yards allowed. The way I would go about it is I try and run it at Oliver. I would go about the business of doing that. He's an undersized 3 technique, very good pass rusher. And that's pretty much what his game is. He's an excellent pass rusher. So that's what I would pay attention to on the defensive side of the ball. In this game, I would go right after Jake Ferguson in this game. Ferguson and I would line up Cooks in the slot. I would like to do that a lot. Tyron Johnson, I believe it is a guy who tends to struggle with speed. I don't know if he's playing in this game. Let me just double check the Bills injury report. Let me double check that. See who all is playing in this game. Justin Shorter, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid was a limited participant today. Tyron Johnson, yes. Ankle, he was a limited participant. No game status on him yet. AJ Epinesa and Micah Hyde are both out. Kyer Elam is questionable for them as well. So, yeah, I mean, look, if Tyron Johnson plays, he's a guy who struggles with speed. And knowing that, I would go with Cooks in the slot and just dominate. Just dominate that way. So overall, look, they're going to be able to move the ball on this defense, regardless if it's raining or not. And that's right now in the forecast that it's going to rain down in Buffalo. It's supposed to be high 40s, low 50s weather. So, that's something that you do have to consider when talking about this game. So here's my official prediction for this game. I think that the Cowboys are better on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I think that their offensive line is going to dominate this game because I just think they have an advantage there over the Bills' defensive line. And because I believe the Cowboys are going to be able to enforce their will on their opponent from running the football, because I do believe that they have a better rushing attack than the Buffalo Bills. And I think that the Buffalo Bills do have a weakness in their run defense. And the fact that I do think that the Cowboys will get enough stops defensively to win them this game, I have the Cowboys winning this game right now, 27-21 in Buffalo. And if that's the case, the Cowboys are going to feel good about themselves coming out of this game. So let's hope that's the scenario that plays out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section real quick about the audio, the background music. I would appreciate your feedback on that. I'm going to have a guest on here. So let me just send him the link to this StreamYard. Give me 1 second. Okay, cool. Text sent. Word. Did anybody see that Chargers versus Raiders game last night where the Chargers lost 63-21 to the Las Vegas Raiders? So I have a question for you guys. Is it fair to say that Dak Prescott deserves a pass for his time with Kellen Moore? Because me personally, I feel like Dak Prescott deserves a pass for his time with Kellen Moore. And here's the reason why I say that. We've now seen that Kellen Moore has went over to the Chargers and he's not had a bunch of success over there. This is what I love though. When Lamar Jackson is struggling, people can blame Greg Roman for his downfall. You know, when Jalen Hurts is struggling, you can go after Brian Johnson. When Josh Allen's struggling, you can go after Ken Dorsey. When a lot of these other quarterbacks are struggling, you can go after their coordinator. But the moment I say, hey, I think that the coordinator in Dallas over these past 4 years, which was Kellen Moore, was the problem, people get upset when I say that and say that I'm making excuses. But then they'll also turn around and make the same. I don't even consider it an excuse. It's just providing context to the situation. Kellen Moore has proven to not be the offensive coordinator that people thought that he was going to be. And because of that, I'm giving Dak a pass for those 4 years with Kellen Moore. It's just what I'm doing. Right? If we can make excuses for other quarterbacks and say that, because I shouldn't say it's an excuse. If we can provide context in that specific situation and say all this other stuff about other quarterbacks, let me do it with Dak Prescott. You know, like when we go back to that San Francisco 49ers game, I would sit here and tell you guys that that was going to be a very difficult game for Dak Prescott to win due to the fact that you were dealing with a very explosive 49ers defense, a very fast 49ers defense, a very physical 49ers defense, and you rolled in there with CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, Tony Pollard, Michael Gallup. You know, CeeDee Lamb was awesome last year. I'm not taking anything away from him. Tony Pollard gets injured before half. Like, that was huge for the Cowboys in that game. They really didn't have any other option outside of CeeDee Lamb that game. So my question to you guys is this. Do you give Dak a pass for that San Francisco game, knowing how inadequate his offensive coordinator was, for one, and number two, his lack of weapons in that game? Because I can tell you this, you could put a lot of other quarterbacks in that situation that Dak Prescott was in last season in the playoffs versus the San Francisco 49ers, you're getting the same result. You're getting the same result. Okay? You add Joe Burrow to this football team, he's not going to make Michael Gallup run better routes. That was a problem that he had in that game. You know, you add Patrick Mahomes, it's not like your receivers are going to be any better. Like, every quarterback needs weapons, guys. And my thing is this, I always bring this up to people. If other quarterbacks, like let's just say, for example, when Patrick Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and all those guys, like, that was the thing that got them over the top. Like, Patrick Mahomes was the reason they got over the top. But if that year you wanted to put him on a team like the Patriots, maybe they don't get that far, you know, because At the end of the day, is Dak Prescott the best quarterback in the league? Right now, he's playing like it, but I don't think that necessarily makes him the best quarterback in the league. Like when we're taking a holistic standpoint from this, I think you look at other quarterbacks and say, yeah, they're probably better than Dak Prescott. So when you have quarterbacks that are better than Dak Prescott with more weapons, it's going to be difficult for you to pull games like that out. What's up, Trent? How you doing, bro? You know what I'm saying? So like the NFL is a league where you got to have weapons. You got to have weapons on your team. You know, because I would go back and look at that Patrick Mahomes first Super Bowl. Maybe one of the best offensive supporting casts I've seen. I'm still taking Mahomes over Dak no matter what. As am I. I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about their play on the field this season, just this season, not who you would take over the next 5 to 10 years, because I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. But I'm just saying how they're both playing this season. Dak Prescott, I think, is playing at a higher level than Patrick Mahomes at the current moment. Hey, if you guys haven't already, please make sure to like up the stream. I would greatly appreciate that. Yeah, so, I mean, look, overall, when it comes to getting far in the playoffs and winning Super Bowls, you know, why haven't the Cowboys been able to crack that code yet? You want to know why I think they haven't been able to crack that code? It's because when was the last time they had one of these Shanahan, McVay type of guys? Like, it's been a while. Betsy, you make a great point there. Team and scheme. They say, oh, Dak is taking on Allen, but it's all players have to be clicking to get those points on the board. Yes, correct. That's why, you know, when people look at different quarterbacks and they say, oh, well, this team has the better quarterback, so they have an advantage there. I don't necessarily buy that, because what are the quarterbacks surrounded by? Because you can have Patrick Mahomes versus Tua Tagovailoa, right? But Tua's got more weapons. He has more guys that can make explosive plays for him. He has more reliable pass catchers on that team. So even though, like, if they take the field, the Chiefs and the Dolphins, yeah, maybe Tua can play with Patrick Mahomes. But at the end of the day, pause. That just sounded so bad. But that's besides the point. Tua's going to be able to play to the same level as a Patrick Mahomes if you have all these weapons and you have Patrick Mahomes with the weapons that he has right now. Like, yeah, you can have comparable performances. But that doesn't mean that, you know, they're the better quarterback. And that's kind of been my thing with Dallas and Dak Prescott for so long. You know, when you look at the quarterback that Dak Prescott is, you're talking about a guy who can read defenses pre and post snap, does that at a very high level. We'll get into what a certain individual said about Dak Prescott, but Aaron Rodgers, right? And I'm talking about Cam Newton. I'm going to get into that here in a quick second. Aaron Rodgers came out and said, I love what Dak does pre-snap. I love how he gets his guys in and out of plays, how he sets protection up at the line of scrimmage, you know. But when you also look at his ability to make plays on all three levels of the field, throwing the football, with his accuracy, with his ability to anticipate his throws, with his ability to improvise, you're not finding a quarterback that can do all those things to the level of Dak Prescott. It's very hard to find that type of quarterback. You know, maybe you can find it in the draft, maybe. But, you know, it's not a perfect science when it comes to these quarterbacks, right? Like, for example, like CJ Stroud is awesome, but Bryce Young was the number 1 overall pick. He was the not consensus, but a lot of people anticipated that he was going to be a top 2, top 3 pick in this past draft for years now. Ever since he walked onto the field at Alabama, people had that expectation. So, you know, it's not a perfect science when it comes to scouting the quarterback position. It's really not. And, you know, ultimately, the Cowboys have a good quarterback at the helm. And, I think they should feel very good about themselves. I just saw the way I looked when I was. Let me see if I can mirror this. Okay. I think I look different now. I look different to myself, but I think I look better on the YouTube stream. Let's check this out. I got to make sure that I'm keeping the quality up here. Am I still behind with my audio? Am I still behind? Like is my audio synced up with my movements with my mouth? Are they synced up? Because that's why I bought this webcam, because I was like, I'm not really feeling it with the way I was, with the way it was being synced up at that point. So I was like, all right, I guess I got to go get a webcam. Nah, it's delayed. That's mad annoying, man. That is mad annoying. Let me see if I can fix that. Yo, StreamYard is the worst, man. Yeah, it is what it is. We'll fix it for the next stream. That is mad annoying. So, all right, let's get into this Cam Newton situation. Okay. Guys, I understand why people are mad at Cam Newton for his comments about Dak Prescott. Me personally, I'm not going to be in the business of going at Cam Newton, talking about this man's playing career. I'm not going to do it. I refuse to do it. Because here's the thing, right? Like, as an athlete, I would have loved to have been as good of a player as Cam Newton. I would have loved to have reached the athletic peaks that this guy reached. Like, I would have loved to have gotten a full ride to college and be the number 1 overall pick and get paid a bunch of money and play the game that, I love playing. But at the end of the day, I wasn't good enough to do that. Cam Newton was good enough to do that. And he did it at a very high level. And he won MVP of the NFL. Is he an all-time great quarterback? No, he's not. He was a pretty damn good quarterback in the NFL. That's all he was. So I'm not going to sit here and diminish his level of play. I'm not going to try and belittle his football acumen, but I'm going to disagree with him. And I think I'm allowed to do that. I don't think I need to be a former NFL MVP to do that. I'm not, I don't come from that mindset, right? Like, at the end of the day, right, when it comes to Cam Newton, I'll talk football with him. I got no problem doing it. And if he tries to belittle my opinion, it is what it is. I could care less at the end of the day. But, ultimately, what Cam Newton said, I didn't agree with, right? Like, there's no way you're watching Dak on this team over the past few years and saying game manager. He's not a game manager. Jimmy Garoppolo is a game manager. Jared Goff is like a high-end game manager. But what Dak, again, we talked about it earlier, what Dak Prescott's able to do on all 3 levels of the field, improvising, like that first Eagles game, was he asked to be a game manager? Was he asked to just not turn over the ball, or was he asked to make plays? Same thing with Seattle. Was he asked to make plays, or was he asked, hey, just don't turn over the football? Just don't. No, like, he needed to make plays in that game for his team to win the football game. So this whole thing of him being a game manager, like, what are the tiers? What is Cam Newton's tiers of quarterbacks? Is it, hey, you're a game changer, or you're a game manager, or you're a bench rider? Like, what are his tiers? Because is Dak a difference maker? I would say that he is. I would say that he is. But like, when we bring up guys like Lamar Jackson, please give me a break. What has Lamar Jackson done? Like, we talk about Dak Prescott's lack of success in the playoffs. Like, Cam Newton, or I'm sorry, not Cam Newton. Well, Nah, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to do Cam like that because he did make the Super Bowl. But, when it comes to Lamar Jackson, like, to me, he's got, if Dak Prescott has to show the world that he can win a Super Bowl with nobody around him, and if he can't do it, then that's a problem, then I think I can hold Lamar Jackson to that same standard, right? Like, I don't think I should be belittled for doing that. If it's, hey, this player has to win in the playoffs for one guy, and nah, you're good because Greg Roman. If it's that, then what's even the point about this whole argument? Then there's no argument at that point. But at the end of the day, I'm just not going to be in the business of going at Cam Newton. That's not what I want to do. And I think anybody who does it's kind of making themselves look bad, because this guy did something that a lot of people would love to do. What's going on, Brian? How you doing, bro? Thanks for coming out. Damn, I need to get this damn delay issue with StreamYard together, because that's so annoying to me. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do my own thing. Let's get in the chat. Herbert, good example too. Herbert had weapons, but weak on coaching decisions. Yeah, man. Talk about weak coaching decisions. Sheesh. That's a problem right now in Los Angeles. They got an aging roster too. Yeah, that could end up being bad. So, yeah, I mean, when we talk about, let's get into the NFC East, though, because I do want to talk about the NFC East here for a second. My question to you guys is this. Are we sure the Eagles are going to go 4-0 in these next few games? Are we sure they're going to go 4-0 in the next 4 games? Because I believe if Dallas loses one of the 2 games versus Miami and Buffalo, think about it like this. If we lose to Miami or Buffalo, just go 1-1 of those games and we win versus the Lions and the Commanders, I think the Cowboys end up winning the division at that point, because then they would have identical division records at the 5-1. The Eagles can drop too. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Because then at that point they'd both be 13-4. So, the first criteria for winning a division is right there, right? They're both 13-4. So they're both tied. So now they get into the tiebreaker. First would be divisional record. Both would be 5-1. Second would be, I think, let me just double check this, because I do want to go through NFL. I want to go through and just make sure that this is right. NFL division tiebreakers. Cool. Tie-breaking procedures. Let me change this music here real quick. Okay. One head-to-head best. So it's best won/loss/tied percentage in between the clubs. So first is head-to-head. They would be splitting that. Best won-loss tied percentage in games within the division. They would be tied in that. Best won-loss tied percentage in common games. So right now, I think the Cowboys have, in common games, they played 5 opponents, and I think the Cowboys are, I'm trying to think. I think they're 4-1 in common opponents versus the Eagles. But if the Eagles win against the Cardinals, I'm trying to think about that, right? Like, if they beat the Cardinals and they beat, did we lose? Oh, okay. Yes. Because then it would be 1-for-1, right? We would add a loss. Like, if they were to beat the Cardinals, that would add a loss to our, resume. So then at that point, amongst common opponents, we would both be 4-2. And then, if you sweep the Giants, then that's 6-2. So, and especially if that's why I was wondering why that might have been a little flawed. If they lose one to the Baltimore, oh, no. Because if Philly ends up losing one, then they would have 3 losses amongst common opponents because all the rest of their games are amongst common opponents. So if they lose one and the Cowboys drop one of these next 2, then at that point they would be, I think, 6-3 amongst common opponents. So then it would go to the 4th one, which would be best 1-loss tied percentage in games within the conference. So again, if the Cowboys drop one in the AFC, it doesn't count. But if the Eagles drop one of these next 4 games, I think their conference record would be about the same because they would both have the tiebreaker, and then they would both have the loss versus the 49ers. And then if the Eagles lose one of these next 4 games, all these teams are teams that Dallas has played. So you would then be, tied in that aspect as well, which would then go to strength of victory in all those games. And the strength of victory would favor Dallas in that particular situation. They play Arizona soon, so common. Yeah, it's because their loss was to AFC, the Jets, and ours was in conference. Yeah, that Arizona game might come back to haunt you guys, or to haunt us, which is crazy to think. Damn, man, I wish I could have that one back. I wish I could have that game back. Unfortunately, we can't, which it sucks, but it is what it is. Let's see. See if I can get this delay all sorted out. Chatting it up with the StreamYard people. Let's read some of the chat. See this. The way the Giants are playing, the Eagles might not sweep the Giants. Yeah, that's not a foregone conclusion that they sweep the Giants, guys. It's not a foregone conclusion. Because here's the thing with the Giants, right? With the Giants right now, the way they're playing, they play ball control football, right? With a good rushing attack, a quarterback that can make good decisions, along with a pretty good defense. So they could cause some problems for the Eagles. And do you not think that, the Giants aren't going to want to show the Eagles up? I absolutely think they're going to want to show the Eagles up. Because at the end of the day, this is still a rivalry. How would you love it if you got to just ruin one of your biggest rivals' season and stop them from winning a division championship? How awesome would that be if you're the New York Giants? They should go and do it. But, that Seattle game for them is going to be tough. It's going to be tough because their secondary is not very good, and they're playing a bunch of really talented receivers over on the Seattle Seahawks sideline. With DK Metcalf and Lockett and Smith and Jigba and Bobo, that tight end, and Noah Fant. Their offensive line's a bit suspect, but if Geno Smith can get the ball out of his hands quickly, guess what? They're gonna put up points in that game. No doubt about it. They're gonna put up points. So that's gonna be an interesting matchup to watch for on Monday. Also, playing in Seattle is tough. That's right. And not only that, I think the Eagles haven't won in Seattle since like 2008. So, that's something to take into consideration. That's something that you definitely have to think of. But yeah, ultimately, the hell is that? Or select a preset in it. Okay. I'm talking to the StreamYard support cast. Let's try this out. Pocket loss. And this will test your pocket loss for your connection. Basically, the stability of your connection. Please click on that link or select a preset And then start. All right. I guess I'm taking this quiz. That's weird, and it's what it is. StreamYard's the worst, man. Is Gino playing? I don't know if he's playing on Monday. I don't think they've decided yet. If he's not, you could pretty much just kiss that game away. But again, you're going to have other opportunities to get your luck back when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, I think they have some questions to answer in themselves. I really do. Let's see this. Let's see. Yeah, so I mean, look, do you see Josh Allen possibly throwing a pick six to Deron Bland? Absolutely, I potentially see it. Absolutely, I could see that happening. You know, Josh Allen has had a turnover in like his last like 9 games or something crazy like that, or like an interception or something. So, yeah, no, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for Josh Allen. Yo, if you guys haven't already, please make sure to like up the stream. I would greatly appreciate that. Go ahead and like up the stream for me. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, look, pretty much at the end of the day, you know, my Bills Cowboys prediction, I have the Cowboys winning 27-21. I think two Brandon Aubrey field goals is what's going to seal this game for the Cowboys. Bills are a really good team. They should not be slept on, but at the end of the day, the Cowboys are a really good football team as well. And I think that because of that, the Cowboys will end up taking this game. So we've been on for over 45 minutes, guys. I'm tired as hell. I got to get to sleep. I appreciate you guys for coming out. And I'll see you guys on the next stream. I'll be live right after the Cowboys versus Bills game. So I'll talk to you guys later.